Ready.
Yeah. I'm in.
Good evening. I'd like to call the July 26th Dartmouth School Committee meeting to order. Why don't we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Per Governor Baker's order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 20, and the subsequent extension of said certain provisions of said order, which are signed into law as Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, the public will not be allowed to physically access this school committee meeting. Members of the public can access the meeting via live stream at youtube.com/Dartmouth Community Media. In addition, the event will be rebroadcast on DCTV channels 9 and 18 on the following days: Wednesday and Thursday at 5 p.m., Friday at 6 a.m., Saturday at 8 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. The school committee reserves the right to implement additional remote participation procedures and will notify the public of these procedures as soon as practicable. Ms. Genther, can we have a roll call, please?
Shannon Jenkins,
Here.
Mary Waite,
Here.
Kathleen Amaral,
Here.
John Nunes,
Yep.
Chris Oliver.
Here.
All right, so our first item on the agenda is public comment. Comments are welcome during the public comment segment. Please forward comments to the recording secretary, Kathleen Genthner at dartmouthschools.org. I believe we received an email from you earlier today, two that you have forwarded to us. Do you have any additional emails?
I do not.
All right, I will return to public comment at the end. If anybody wants to comment on any of the items that are on our agenda for this evening, they can send that email to Kathleen Genthner at dartmouthschools.org. Next on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes, the regular session minutes of June 28th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second. All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Oliver, a second by Mrs. Amaral. Is there any discussion on these minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And no abstentions. Okay. All right, moving on to new business. We have the discussion and appointment of our committee representative to the town's open space committee. You all should have received in your packet a letter from the town administrator that Dartmouth is reopening the open space and recreation plan, and we get to appoint a member. Dr. Gifford or Mr. Kiley, do you have anything you'd like to say on this? I mean, I think it's all in the letter. They're updating the plan, right? And they're going to be working with Serpide. We need to appoint a representative to this committee. It could be someone from this committee. I think in the past for other committees, we have also appointed our representative who does not happen to be a member of the committee. So we could do either. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Everybody want to step backwards really quickly?
Real quick, do we, sorry.
Mr. Nunes.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Do we know who our representative is at the moment, or who it has been? No
Past,
disrespect to any, because I'm drawing a total blank on this.
Yeah, I think they had the old plan, it says, was done in 2014 and 15. And then I think the committee dissolved, and now it's being recreated.
I have no recollection of this at all, to be perfectly honest with you. So,
Me neither.
Yeah.
I mean, my question becomes, I mean, I don't have a problem sitting on this committee.
Yes.
But I'm kind of limited as to the days of the week.
Right.
You know, I mean, as we all are, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong.
Oh, yeah, for
And-
sure.
And such. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm kind of looking at Tuesday night being my one night that I don't have a whole heck of a lot that goes on.
Right.
I mean, we have meetings Monday night, Wednesday night, I'm tied up. I have Thursday night meetings sometimes, so, and I know they're not meeting Friday night, so. That type of deal, or on a weekend. So, I mean, if they're gonna meet Tuesday nights, then I'll gladly give it a shot.
Right.
But that's the best I can do.
Mr. Oliver.
Well, I think, if you're willing to at least accept our nomination,
Yeah.
you know, see what the first meeting entails, and then come back to the committee. And if you can't make the Tuesday meeting, well, if
Yeah.
you can't make it
Yeah.
any of the other days, then we can revisit this in another meeting, unless someone else has. I am out straight right now.
I could be the the backup if John can't do it. It's something that interests me too. So I'm happy to be, I'm on the charter review, so I'm happy to kind of, sit back. But if it,
Yeah. Well, no, I know you've got charter review and things at the college, and yeah, we're all
yeah, exactly.
So,
we're all going.
But I'm interested in this, and
We're,
certainly it's
we're all
something-
going, 35-8,
Yeah,
that type
exactly.
of deal.
So
Understand what
we'll
I'm
figure out a
saying?
night, if
Yeah.
your night's.
so do we want to make a motion then to nominate Mr. Nunes as our representative with Ms. Waite as the backup? If Mr. Nunes cannot make the scheduled meetings.
Madam
Someone-
Chair, I'll make that motion to nominate Mr. Nunes.
Thank you. All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Oliver and a second by Ms. Waite. Is there any discussion? I will just say thank you, Mr. Nunes and Ms. Waite, for volunteering to try to fit this in. I know we're all really busy, so I appreciate that. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
I abstain.
All right, that motion carries unanimously. So,
No problem,
Ms.
that's
Genther,
fine.
we're gonna, there's a form that we have to fill out. Can we can we maybe write a note on the bottom that Ms. Waite will be the backup if that doesn't work out? That would be great.
You want me to fill this out, or
That's okay, I'll do it.
you'll take care of it?
I'll take care of it.
All right, so the next
Fantastic.
item on the agenda is authorization to release executive session minutes. We're gonna take these by year, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Nunes to make the motion, because he has some minutes that he would like to hold. So I think it's just easy if he would make the motion to release and pull back, and then we can discuss that motion. So Mr. Nunes, why don't we start, do you wanna do all of them at once in one motion, or do you wanna do one motion per year?
The choice is yours. I have no objections doing them whichever way the committee wishes.
Let's do, why don't we take them by year? So
wanna
why
do
don't we
one
start
at a-
with,
one
yeah,
at a time? That's fine.
2017.
That's fine. Okay. Madam Chair, I make a motion that we release the executive session minutes of 2017. The dates to be released, January 30th, these are all 2017. January 30th, February 13th, March 6th, June 5th, June 16th, June 26th, August 28th, September 25th, all of 2017.
Okay, can I have a second for that motion? All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Waite. As for discussion, I don't have a problem holding these if a member of the committee wants to hold them personally. We can always come back and look again at a later date, so I have no problem with Mr. Nunes' suggestions. Does anybody else have any
I have no issues.
comments or concerns?
I just have issues with the content of
Yep.
them for all 3 years type of deal that I
Not
think.
being ready.
I think we need to discuss when we have an executive session,
Okay,
that type of deal. So I'm
Okay.
not going to discuss it in open
Right,
session
right.
naturally, but I
Right.
have some questions and concerns.
okay, so would you like to, for our next executive session, to put on discussion of these ones that we're gonna hold?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right, so we can make a note to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't need to schedule an executive session
No,
just for that.
No,
Right,
no.
okay,
The world's not coming to an end.
that's what I thought. Any further discussion on the motion for 2017? All in favor? Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. All right, so why don't we go to 2018, Mr. Nunes?
Yeah, Madam Chair, make a motion, we release for 2018 the following executive session minutes: February 2nd, April 30th, June 4th, and October 5th of 2018.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Waite. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. All right, and now 2019, Mr. Nunes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we release the following executive session minutes for 2019, May 13th, June 10th, July 8th, September 9th, September 25th, October 7th, November 18th, and I believe the last one should be December 16th,
Yeah.
not 16, that, I think there was a typo there, which is no biggie type of deal. Again, those are all 2019 minutes.
I have a second.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Amaral. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Oliver?
Yes, Madam Chair. I would ask that the committee defer 2019, as I did not have an opportunity to get to 2019 to review those minutes.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, so,
So we'll bring those, you just bring those back at some other
Just bring them
time.
back. I'll be
okay,
ready for the next
we don't have to
meeting.
vote on the withdrawal of the motion, right?
No,
Okay, I just want to make
I
sure
just
we're
would-
following the rules.
I'll just withdraw my motion.
Okay, so we'll come back to 2019
Thank you.
at the next, at our next meeting.
Yep.
Okay, Dr. Gifford, the next item on the agenda is the superintendent's update.
Sure, thank you. So a couple of things. Obviously, we've been in and out. People have been on vacations and whatnot, but a lot has been going on in the district, including the completion of the credit recovery at the high school. So that went very well. Eric Boswell, who coordinated it, Ms. Oliveira said he did a great job doing that. Really worked hard at that, and he was one of our hires last year. So that went well. Of course, ESY is still underway. We have the Acceleration Academy, which I think I let you know prior, that's money from DESE. Too much money. I mean, money everywhere now. So that was to reach out to students who we feel had gaps and would be, really do well with this academy. So the teachers are hired. That's be at the end of August. Teachers are hired. We're ready to go with that just about. That's been worked on as well. We were happy to see so many folks apply and want to be part of that. And we are purchasing a new math curriculum. We've been looking at this for a number of years now. So it's the Bridges curriculum. So one wonderful thing that is happening this summer, starting this summer, is we put it out to the elementary. It's for the elementary level. We wanted to see who would want to be an early adopter and get into it right away to start working on it for next year, as opposed to rolling it in over 2 years. And all but about 2 teachers across the entire district want to get going on it. So we were really, really pleased to see that. Training will start this summer. Some of it is on their own training, some of it is being facilitated, et cetera. So we're very excited about that, and they're receiving new materials, et cetera. Also, as far as hiring goes, right now, the biggest positions are the teaching positions, I guess. We have some monitors, a couple of TAs still open, but is the high school. We have a recent, I don't know if the person had resigned from our last meeting, I can't remember, an English position, the library media position, and of course we're still looking for physics chem. That's the most difficult at this point. I think it's going to be a tough one. So those are our instructional staff still out there. And I'm looking at my notes to see if I have anything other than, of course, we're still working that position I talked to you about, the ITS, where we wanted someone to help with the curriculum, et cetera. We're still working on that, hoping that comes to fruition. We'll see. And I know I want to have Mr. Kiley update us on some of the grants. We talked about that today, all this ESSER money that we're trying to decide how to spend it. He's got a lot of juggling with money and different dates to do. So we've been meeting as a team to discuss that, and also the facilities updates.
Thank you, Dr. Gifford. So yeah, we're in the process of applying for the ESSER 2 grant, which is $1.2 million, which obviously will be very beneficial for us. That goes until September 30th, 2023. The ESSER 3 grant, which is coming down the road here, we'll have to apply for that by October. That goes through September 30th of 2024. So in the meantime, we still have ESSER 1 funds, and we fully expended our coronavirus relief fund, except that some of our expenses are retroactively FEMA eligible, because FEMA originally schools weren't eligible for FEMA reimbursement. They've now changed that, so we are eligible for FEMA reimbursement, so we're in the process of applying for FEMA reimbursement for some of our expenses, which will free up some of our original monies that we had first in this whole scheme of things, and those expire in December. So we've got a lot of juggling to do, but the primary focus of our efforts is going to be on the social emotional aspect with the social workers that we talked about in the budget process. So those 2.5 positions will be funded through this. They'll be able to be funded for multiple years through this. The reading specialist position also in the budget will be able to be funded through this. A nursing position will be able to be funded through this. We also have some other areas of need that have been identified that we know we have things like compensatory services that we need to make up for, learning loss and loss of time through the pandemic. So we're going to focus on those efforts. Overall, we're talking about, quite a bit of money, $4.5 million over the next 3 years that we have to, spend on things that are COVID related. So they could be to address the impacts of COVID, which there's significant impacts. We all know that. So we're in the process of putting that plan together. So the biggest sum of money is the $3 million ESSER 3 that we'll be applying for in October. So we've got quite a bit of planning we need to do for that before we move forward. But right now, we're going to build in these positions into that pool of funds. I can't say exactly where yet because I don't know how much is going to get reimbursed by FEMA and how much juggling I'm going to have to do. It's an interesting task, but I've had worse problems than having money available.
Yeah, I see
Questions
Mr.
on
Oliver
the
has a hand up.
grants?
I would like, we're talking about a lot of money, and usually, the school committee reviews the budget. So I would like if perhaps maybe we could start getting some reports from you all about where that money's going
Yeah,
and what
be
we're
happy
using
to.
it on, just because that's part of our fiduciary responsibility.
Of course.
Awesome. Mr. Oliver?
So thank you, Dr. Jenkins. That was part of my question, if at some point we could be provided with some kind of spreadsheet or...
And if you have any ideas, let us know.
I will. I certainly will. In addition, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is with ESSER 3, we have to engage stakeholders
Yes.
all in the community and the district.
Yep.
So I was just curious as to what our plan is with engaging stakeholders for ESSER 3, because the deadline for ESSER 3
Right.
is...
October 4th
Yeah.
Okay.
is the deadline
Yeah,
for
we've-
October 3rd.
So we're quickly...
We've talked about that.
Professor
We're thinking some of the ways, if we have a public comment during school committee, that's one venue. We'd also mention that we have our school councils. We're going to let our principals bring it up at their school councils, and we know we have to move on this pretty quickly, but at least those are some of the things we're thinking about, that folks will know that this is what we're discussing, and then provide that time for folks
Okay.
to at least give some feedback.
Sure, I think it's important
Yeah.
that we give
Yeah.
people the opportunity to share their thoughts. And
Right.
after the year we've had, I think everyone, I'm sure more people than not have ideas.
Sure.
As to what we can do. My last question is more along the lines of, for our next meeting, I know it's kind of early right now. We're going into the last week of July. We're in the last week of July, but if we could start thinking about already, what the fall is going to look like as far as there's a lot of variables. I know everyone's been probably receiving a number of different emails, so it's important that I'd love to have an update as to what our obviously we have a plan in place right now.
Right.
Hopefully it's going to be normal, but what contingency plans are maybe if needed. So I think it's important that we, at the next meeting, we have,
Yeah.
and I know originally our only meeting in August was,
That at our last meeting, I was a little concerned about us only having a meeting scheduled for the 23rd.
Right.
You know.
Did we put a date aside? I know we
Didn't,
talked
because
about
it was so complicated. And I was thinking about this because I do have a feeling that we may need another meeting before the 23rd, maybe. But I thought it might just be easier, rather than us trying to do this, is for all of us to send Ms. Genthner the dates we are not available,
that's a
and
good
she can
idea.
see if there's like 1 or 2 magic dates that we can just hold just in
Right.
case.
I just think it's important that we, that we have a discussion and the public is aware that we are very much involved in what happens in this district. And, we want to be
Right.
briefed and we want to be aware and be able to react to whatever the future may throw us.
Right, because anything can change between, I mean, our plan is to be normal, like, open normally, but,
Exactly. I can say that my plan is,
Right.
as well,
right,
to be normal,
right.
to operate as normal.
That's what we're hoping.
But we all know that that can change.
Sure can.
Thank you.
Other comments? Ms. Amaral?
In terms of the ESSER money coming in, and you're talking about compensatory services, I don't know if there's a plan or if it's already kind of been, or it could be looked into. I'm just thinking about those students who kind of aged out of the federal entitlement during the whole COVID. I just know that, I don't know how many in our district. I mean, I can guesstimate it's not a huge amount, and statewide it's not a huge amount, but there are a lot of students who have aged out with significant disabilities, and on the other end, the adult agencies have not, it's like nada. Funding is for day programs and those sorts of supports aren't necessarily happening the way that they should. So you've got those families that reach out and that are quite, vocal about their needs, but then there are a lot of families who just sort of sit back and say, I appreciate what I've been given, and they're suffering. So I don't know if there's a way to reach out to any of those just to see if there's anything that we could do. There's legislation to kind of help with the funding, change the funding from allowing for some reimbursement, but that's not happened yet. But there just might be some students who are sitting home 24/7 that if we could provide some, I don't know what it would look like. I wouldn't think it would probably, I mean, everything's expensive, but I wouldn't think the number would be huge, but there might be a few
Right.
students.
We can certainly check with Beth with that.
Yeah.
What's it look like right now? What do
Right,
we have?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I'm asked, it's like, oh no, we're good, but,
Yeah.
and a lot of families might say that, but are they really?
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
It might be worth looking into, as long as there's that money to sort of help with that effort. That's all I had.
Mr. Nunes?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Mr. Kiley, with the comment you just made about changing COVID grants back to FEMA, and I'm gonna make this wonderful assumption, but knowing how the federal government can be sometimes, they've extended deadlines and all that stuff is so that when you start moving money and the auditors come in and start looking, we as a school department / town don't get hit with findings on our single audit report, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. So some of the deadlines, there is some flexibility, but it's interesting that they tell us retroactively that these things are going to be FEMA eligible for a grant that the Department of Ed says we should have spent by June 30th, which I did spend it by June 30th, not, planning on FEMA reimbursement. But now we have until December to spend those funds, so that is a little bit of time. Not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but, it's, they're not overly flexible
Yeah.
with this. And in fact, they've been kicking out, not so much so we've also utilized a significant amount of money, as I've talked about it before, on the town's coronavirus relief, grant. And they've kicked out things. Like they kicked out on the initial pass, we appealed, but they kicked out the hangers that are hand sanitizer, the gallon hand sanitizer. You've probably seen them around here. They kicked out those hangers and said, oh no, those aren't eligible. What do do you mean? It's like hand sanitizer. It's to put hand
Number one
sanitizer
thing,
in every
right?
classroom.
You would think.
We have like 600 of them. Why? And,
Why?
you know, so they've been difficult,
Yeah.
I've got to say.
Big
It's
surprise.
not been an easy
What they're
process.
reviewing.
Yeah,
But
okay, I was just curious, thank you. I'm good. Jan.
Ms. Waite.
And this is more Dr. Gifford, just kind of going back to the staffing and thinking, because I imagine right now we're in, mid-July and trying to find that chemistry physics teacher, like that to me is, a red flag. Those students who maybe, let's say, signed up for those higher level classes, are they able to go into an ingenuity type program if they come and you don't have us? Like, how will that, for those students who maybe signed up and there isn't a staff person?
Well, I think first of all, there might be some shuffling of staff, perhaps, just an idea, and then we can certainly consider that because
Okay.
we need the class.
Well, right,
Right,
yeah.
class. But it's been a tough one for sure.
That's a really tough one.
Always
That's a
is.
new, I know.
And it's been advertised for quite a while now.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
we'll think outside the box.
So my question relates to sort of learning loss. We talked about the Acceleration Academy, credit recovery. I know we don't quite have a handle on what the scope of the problem is, but I would like to hear some information maybe at our next meeting about how we plan to figure out what the scope of the problem is. I mean, I don't know if we had more people in credit recovery than normal. How many students are in the Acceleration Academy? I don't think we're going to be getting all students in that.
No.
And so what are we going to be doing? Like, how are we going to figure out what our needs are? Because I think this is probably going to be ongoing this fall,
Yeah.
right? And then I know our plans will change based on what our assessments are, but what are our
Right,
initial
right.
plans to deal with that? I know a lot of parents are concerned with their kids' academic progress, and
Yeah.
and so I think some reassurance that we have a plan to tackle this. I know that you've been thinking about this, but talking about that publicly, I think, would be a really good thing to help assure parents that we know there are needs and we're working to find
Oh,
that
yes.
out. We have money. We're gonna
Right.
work on this. This is a primary need. So maybe in the August 23rd, maybe it doesn't have to be
Yep.
fancy, but I think just something
Some
to start
ideas.
informing, like what we're going to do to address this issue would be good.
Well, I just want to add one thing when you bring that up. We did invite the K, all of the K, because, and Tracy was saying a lot of parents have decided to put their the K students, incoming K. And we were happy about that because even some that haven't gone to a preschool so it's kind of give them that leg up to
Right.
get started. So that was one positive that came about. We're having a little trouble getting some middle school students. Probably dragging,
Well, and I mean,
Mom, I don't want to go.
Right, I think for a lot of people after last year, the
I
last thing they
know,
want
I
is
know.
more school this summer. And so I think
Yeah.
we're going to have to think creatively about after
Yeah.
school. Like,
Yep.
I know the middle school has always done
That's right.
a couple of days of homework help. Can we use some of that money to expand that, do some more stuff related to that?
that's on our
Because-
list.
That's
We've
on
been
the
talking
list.
about
Okay,
that.
Right.
great,
Yep.
fabulous.
Yep.
Other, Mr. Oliver?
Just to kind of bounce off of what you were just bringing up, transportation at the after-school transportation at the middle school, is that something, I'm sure that qualifies?
Right, and if we expand that's part of our discussion with after-school programs. Okay,
Okay.
how does that look?
Right,
And if we
good
start to expand beyond, the middle school, we do have some high school late buses already, and we do transport for the middle school program. But if we expand that program, we
Right.
need to be able to fund that, so,
Right. I think that would be, a big help for
I think so,
probably a lot
too.
of kids.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
I agree.
Yeah, because I think also too, as we go, it's going to be as you go that you figure out those gaps and
Yep.
what they need and where they need help. Other comments or questions for Dr. Gifford or Mr. Kiley? Is that it for your update? Okay,
Yes.
so next is a report of the chair. Mr. Nunes had asked, we'll start with a discussion about regarding physical access to the school committee meetings. I will say, when Mr. Nunes asked to put this on the agenda a month ago, I was like, yes, we're ready to go. And now a month later, I'm like, I'm not so sure about this. I mean, I'm lucky that my whole family is able to be vaccinated. I know that's not the case for everyone at this table in this room. I'm not sure how comfortable I feel admitting people when I don't know their vaccination status in an enclosed indoor space. that's my personal opinion. It's more of a discussion than a report of the chair, so I'd like to maybe hear your thoughts. Mr. Nunes.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I would love to have people back at our meeting type of deal, but I totally agree with you, yes. You know, my wife and I are fully vaccinated and such, so I'm good,
Right.
type of deal. Well, we don't know what anybody else is, and we're seeing this variants, you know, blow up big time. I mean, right across the country because of everything that's gone on, and, you know, people just saying, I'm not getting vaccinated, I don't care. So now we're going, you know, and I mean, personally, I think we've got an issue coming into the fall with school opening. Okay, how are we going to handle that? But that's another topic later on. I think right now, until we get some guidance, either from the Board of Health, the state, the governor, et cetera, I think we need to stay exactly the way we are. I'd rather be safe than sorry at this point in time. Yes, we can walk out here tonight and go shopping and have an issue. That's it, but if we can control it to the best of our ability, then that's what we do. That's
Okay.
my opinion.
Other comments, Mr. Oliver?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my view on this is we may be waiting forever for guidance from the state. Look at what they did to us at the fall of last year, and they left it at the local the local level as to what the decision would be. I agree this room's kind of small to have the public in. But I think at some point, we really need to look at this. My recommendation would be to ask anyone wishing to come in person to be masked. I don't know if that's something we can do, but I do agree with both of you to that extent. You know, I think we would, at some point, how long do we continue to push off allowing public access to meetings? And I understand they're able to get in on YouTube and by watching it and by sending emails through a recording secretary. But at some point, you know, we need to take the lead on this, and if at least considering whether we have to make accommodations to where we have our meetings, and ask that anyone wishing to come in person be masked. But that's just my 2 cents.
I have concerns about how we would enforce a mask mandate,
I agree.
and that I don't think we want to try to get in that business. That's what my concern would be about that. Other thoughts, Ms. Amaral?
Yeah, I would say that my feeling is similar to yours. Like, so, a member of my household did just get approved, like to, you know, we're going to move forward with vaccination. But I do have a very medically complex, immunocompromised child. I was just talking about this. And so, yeah, certainly hesitancy, because from what I'm hearing from his medical professionals is it's not looking good, and it's impacting younger kids, teenagers. And so I don't want that happening to someone in my house. Yet I don't know how we would enforce that, but I don't know what to do. Yeah. I mean, I always, I would love if perhaps folks could, but I don't know how you manage that. Maybe have a different way of having people available, you know, on a screen, or, you know.
I think that becomes very hard, particularly as we're live streaming,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's an issue here, but I think being online, people are more willing to say things they might not say than when they are
absolutely.
physically present. So I worry about our ability to sort of moderate that if we let just anyone.
Yeah.
You could
At
become
least with the email, we have public comment, we see it, we have the ability
Yep.
to filter that a little bit, what's
Yeah.
going on in the public.
you could run into no disrespect, you could run into a free-for-all,
Yeah,
Right.
agreed.
okay? And
That's how I feel. Agreed.
that could become an issue.
Yeah. Ms. Waite and then Ms. Oliver, go ahead.
You know, again, my family's fully vaccinated, but, I certainly have concerns, for my fellow members whose family members are not. So, I am nervous about, I just want to make sure we're really focused on what we're going to do with our students in the fall, and that's our number one priority, and our decision-making really centers around that. And, once things I just would say, I think we should hold off through August, and maybe once school's in session, in September, and we look at those meetings, I just think the next month is going to tell us a lot. We have a lot that's up in the air, a lot of decisions to make about, again, we're hoping the school year is going to look normal. That's what we're aiming for. I don't think that we should change our methodology for the next month. I think we should wait till school's back in session.
I think it could be an issue that we could revisit almost every meeting.
Yeah.
Like, are we comfortable doing it at the
Right.
next meeting? I feel like the answer right now for August is no.
No,
But
right.
in August, we can say, are we comfortable at
Right.
the next meeting? And that may be just one meeting at a time is the way to tackle it. Mr. Oliver?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I would just ask that if, come September or August or September, if it's looking like this is going to be more long-term, that, I know that on my municipal listserv that I'm a part of with my job, that there's a lot of discussion at the state level around local government and how we operate and bringing people in. And I think at some point, if we're going to continue, and that's fine, if we choose to continue, not allowing the public in, I think at some point we do need to look at having better remote options for public participation. So I would just.
So I will also note, just to be very clear, right? We are not required as a body to have public comment. We're not. It's not a requirement of our open meetings. We can limit public comment in any way that we see fit. That is part of the scope of our authority. And so I think it's important to be clear about that. People say, oh, you're not following the law or you're not following your obligations. This is well within our realm of authority. We do have alternative mechanisms for public comment. But I know Mr. Nunes probably remembers, I think for many years the school committee did not have a public comment period.
I mean, probably 2010, that type of deal is
Yeah.
when we put it in.
Yeah.
Type of deal.
Yeah.
And I think and to be honest with you, I was probably the one that voted no. I'll be honest with you.
I think I do remember that, Mr.
That's
Nunes.
that type of deal. So, but
But
that's.
so I do think
not
it's important to hear from the public, but there are certainly other ways.
Things never
Public
change.
comment at meetings is not the only way to do it, and in fact, some bodies don't even do public comment at their meetings because it can tend to be a free-for-all.
Yeah.
So it sounds like our consensus is that we'll keep things this way for our next, at least through August. At the end of August, we'll revisit the question, and we can just keep revisiting that question. So the other thing that's on the report of my chair, and this complicates things now, right? So we had met as a diversity committee, and one of the things that we wanted to do was to allow for public comment. But we said, well, that has to be pending, right, a decision by the school committee to allow for open meetings, because I think we would agree just the logistics of trying to get public comment on this issue is not possible virtually. With us deciding not to open our meetings in August, and I suspect, I'm looking at Ms. Amaral, she was on the committee, we talked about this, this would be a very well-attended meeting if we had it open for public comment. And so I think the plan of the committee we're going to have to revisit that. I don't think we can have an open I think we have to have public comment for the committee to move forward on this decision. But I don't think August 18th is the right time for us to do that right now. So I suspect what we'll probably do, we all receive letters from certain members, the Gay Head Wampanoag, and then three community members. The diversity committee did decide to invite them on the 18th at that public comment meeting to come give a presentation to the committee. I think what we'll do is we'll have another virtual meeting. We'll invite them to present, just as we had invited other people to present at a previous meeting. And then we'll sort of make a plan to report back to you. But I just don't think it's right to have a big public meeting 2 weeks before school opens, where we don't know everyone's vaccination status. I do not want to have a super spreader event 2
No.
weeks before opening school.
No.
So, but that's why we had those in that order, and that's why that's going on. So the plan will be, I think, is that we'll meet virtually. We'll ask the gentleman that wrote us letters to do a presentation at that meeting on the 18th, and then we'll see where we can go.
So,
Mr. Nunes, go ahead. I know you had some questions about
no,
this.
well, no, if you're gonna cancel that, that meeting, let me back up. If you're gonna cancel that open meeting type of deal, that kind of makes some of my questions moot, because it was like where band camp's going on, so somebody's gotta let Mr. Flint know. Because, and I'm being serious,
Yeah,
because,
it's going to be a big
Yeah.
meeting, yes.
no, but
Yeah,
Having all the people,
the
yeah.
auditorium is used
right.
for the pit.
Right.
They practice at
Right.
night in the pit type of deal, plus there's no air conditioning in there at the
Right.
moment, so, you
Yeah,
know. I mean, are we gonna have mask coverings, things of that nature, so,
Right.
I mean,
And I think we, as a
But-
committee, met about the same time that the diversity committee, that it was like a month ago. We're like, okay, it's all good. We can do this, right? And now it's like, wait a minute.
So my question to you in all seriousness is, your next meeting is gonna be the 18th?
I think that's what we will plan to do as a committee. We'll keep the meeting the 18th, but we'll change it a little. We will ask, and it also depends that we did want to invite the 3 gentlemen who wrote us a letter to present. If none of them are available on the 18th, then we may look for a different date.
Yeah,
But that would be that, and then we as a committee will discuss our plans for what the next step is.
Okay.
I do think we want to have, the committee seemed to agree, we wanted to have the ability for the public to have input. That just may delay some things a little bit, because if we can't have the public get together, we can't have the public comment, and we wanted to do that.
yeah, because I
So,
mean,
yeah.
you're right, because you are gonna have no idea who's vaccinated, who's not. Does
100%.
everybody wear do you make it a requirement that everybody has masks? Now, for discussion purposes, I walk in with no mask, what happens?
Right.
Okay.
That's why I said to
You've
Ms.
got your-
Oliver, I don't want to
you've
be
got
in the
your-
business
you've got
of
your
that,
free-
right?
You've got your free-for-all, I understand that,
Yes.
so I'm good with that, and I applaud you for it, thank you.
So, I'll get back to the diversity committee on that, but I just want to make sure that we keep you in the loop.
Thank you.
About all the things that are going on there. For report of a chair, I'm just going to say one other thing. We have all received a number of emails, right, from community members that they don't want our children to mask. I want people to know that we've received those emails. We all have. But I will also say, I really want our kids not to have to wear masks in school this fall. And the number one thing that people in the community can do to make that happen is to get vaccinated.
Yep.
Our vaccination rates in this community are lagging behind the state. We have a fairly low vaccination rate. I looked today, I think it's in the low 50s. If people want their kids to go to school without masks, they have to get vaccinated,
Yep.
right? Because if we have an outbreak, we can't do 3 feet in our schools. It's just not possible. So the alternative is going to be masks. So if you don't want masks, get vaccinated, please. To all the adults and children who are eligible, please get that done. That's all I have to say. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add? Mr. Nunes? Or Mr. Oliver? We'll go on this way. Go ahead, Mr.
Sure.
Oliver.
I'll just also convey that the reality here is looking at all the data that's coming in and looking at the news, watching national news, local news, state news, is that we may have to, at some point, if there's an outbreak, go remote again. That is not within.
I'm kidding.
I don't want to. I want to be a realist.
I know.
I'm trying to be a realist here. That it's the last thing I want, right?
So
That's
get
the
vaccinated,
last thing any
right.
of us wants. But at the end of the day, that if we have a lot of students that end up being out with flu-like symptoms, and what do we do? What do we do? That's not going to happen. However, it's something that it's within the realm of possibilities.
And it's less likely to happen if people get vaccinated.
Exactly.
I'm going to be a broken record on that,
Yep.
right? Mr. Nunes?
Just to piggyback, it's called common sense, okay? And that's all I'll say on that, okay? Because if it wasn't common, people wouldn't, but we won't go there. No, change of topics. You asked if I had
Go ahead.
something. I
Yes.
just, in all seriousness, next weekend, start, actually next Sunday, August 1st, sometime late Sunday night, the Dartmouth Middle School is going to get a little busy. The cadets from Drummond Buell Corps from Allentown, Pennsylvania, will be arriving at our middle school. They're going to be crashing there for the next 3 or 4 days. So going by there, people will see, you know, several buses and tractor trailers and souvenir trailers and such there. The students will, you know, those young men and women will be practicing during the day. They do have a couple of competitions, I think Tuesday and Wednesday night, that they'll be traveling out to. But more importantly, in all seriousness, Monday night, they are going to be doing a performance at the high school stadium for everyone. The gates are going to open at 6:30. They're going to be performing their show, from what I understand, at 8 o'clock. They're going to be doing a clinic in the afternoon for our students.
Oh, nice.
And such, you know, which would be great. We all know Mr. Unks, our Assistant Band Director in Percussion and DCI Hall of Famer, and he's very much involved with the cadets, and, you know, he'll be running that clinician.
Is there a cost, Mr. Nunes?
No, there is no cost. It's free of charge.
Awesome.
I mean, don't get me wrong, if somebody wants to come in and give us a check for
Donation, we'll take it.
a check for $50,000, we'll gladly take it, don't get me wrong. No, but there is no, you don't have supper because we're gonna have our concession stand open,
All
so you
right.
can eat at the concessions.
Yeah.
You know, that type of deal, so, but that's, you know, if you see that, you know, if anybody's going by and, you know, they start practicing like 9 o'clock in the morning till like 9 at night, so, I mean, they have a busy, very much regimented schedule, and, you know, you know,
Yeah.
you know, from what I understand and talking with Mr. Runks earlier, all these students have been vaccinated. That's a requirement from DCI this year that everyone would, you know, had to be vaccinated. And as I always say, and this is no disrespect to Mr. Kiley and his excellent custodian maintenance crew, is they will leave the school cleaner than when they got there, because they appreciate the fact that they're going to be able to stay in one place for 3 or 4 days and, you know, get decent night's sleeps
That's good.
and such. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of that.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Nunes. Samro, Ms. Amro?
Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
well, I just had really, I could wait till next week. I just, if any parents who have young kiddos coming in who are, you know, receive special education services and are interested in helping out with the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, I had a meeting with with Beth last week that I had to cancel, but it just brought back to mind the fact that, you know, we need to recruit new, and there are lovely families that are perfectly competent and capable and could re-energize any activity and initiative with my support, my full support. I would love to have folks that are interested or just don't know what it is. They can contact the Dartmouth CPAC at gmail.com or myself through my, you know, even through this email, Kathleen Amaral at dartmouthschools.org. I'm happy to speak with anyone who is not sure what it entails for me to sort of help them along. We'd love to have them. So that's all. A little plug for the CPAC.
Thank you.
You're
Ms.
welcome.
Waite?
I don't really have anything except to say, you know, it's always good to know. I know mini band camp starts again tomorrow, so
That's tomorrow.
yeah. So I mean, there's just so many, like, you know, volleyball camp. I just think
Yep.
there's so much that, you know, in the midst of all this, you know, that's happening, and our kids are out there, and it's really is after such an exhausting year, there's staff that are really, you know, they're out there working with our kids and moving on, and it's pretty great. So yeah. So thank you.
Excellent. So, Ms. Genther, have we had any public comment? No emails.
We have not.
Okay, great. So, before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I'd like to ask everyone to just email Ms. Genther. She'll probably
August.
remember to reach out to all of us, but when you're not available in August,
Okay.
just in case we
Right.
do need a meeting before the 23rd.
Okay.
And we'll see if we can find, I know it's complicated. People are taking vacations, hopefully. We still want to take vacations, right?
I'm at school the week of the 9th.
Yeah, so there's just lots going on. So if we could do that, just that we can, you know, sort of then tell everyone to hold that.
Yep.
If there is a need, that would be great. Mr. Nunes, you're going to
Yeah,
add something?
I know our next meeting is August 23rd. Just so everyone's aware, band camp will be going on that week. So there'll be a lot of activity going on,
Good.
parking and
Good.
that type of deal, so just so everyone's aware.
Excellent. All right, does anybody have anything else?
Nope.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Wade. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Good night, everyone.
Good night and be safe.
Good night.